everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tap House Talks, brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts helping you plan the perfect Disney vacation. When you book with them, it costs you nothing extra on your trip, and you help support the channel and all the content that we produce. Check them out, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. I am here at Baseline Tap House, located at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and today, as always, I have a very special guest, but an extra special guest today, because it's my friend Chloe. Hi, Chloe.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ryno?
I'm very good. I'm glad to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Can I give you a cheers?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. We'll do it right over the top of the camera. So if we spill it, it goes all over the equipment. Yeah.
What are you drinking?
So they've been rotating out the beers inside of here lately, which I enjoyed. Like around like Halloween, Thanksgiving, they had an Oktoberfest, and then in December they had the Sierra Nevada like Celebration IPA, and now they have a Sierra Nevada Imperial IPA, which is a 9.5% beer. And normally Imperial IPAs, I feel like, are super bitter, but this one's pretty. I feel like it's got a nice juice quality to it. It's good. I like it. It's less bitter than the Stone Delicious IPA, I think. So, yeah. And what are you drinking today?
I have my tried and true Baseline hazy little thing.
I do love the hazy little thing.
Yeah.
That is usually my go-to anyways, too. I like to try the new ones. And we, of course, treated ourselves to a big pretzel.
Oh, of course.
Because it's big pretzel or it's charcuterie. You kind of get one of the two when you're here.
That beer cheese.
It's so good. I really should have just gotten two. I made the mistake of the mustard and the cheese. And I like the mustard too, but it's like the cheese is always the empty one at the end. The mustard's always like way too full, right?
Yeah, right.
So Chloe, today I thought you and I could have a fun conversation because you are one of my friends that we met, it was a while ago now. I mean, was it like 2019?
Here.
Yeah.
2019.
I think it was like January 20. Yeah, it was like the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because we got invited to Disney had like a Star Wars themed
VIP
day, right?
Tour.
Yeah, and it was like
which is no longer available right now.
No. Well, no, because remember, fun. Which it kind of should be because I feel like it would work even better now that Galaxy's Edge is open. Yeah. But it was back then when they used to show you like, okay, you can do Star Tours, you can go into Docking Bay, meet characters, you can you used to get, because remember they had the Star Wars fireworks, and then they had the dessert party
in Launch Bay,
God.
And then outside Chinese Theater, and they had the Star Wars fireworks, best fireworks in this park to date.
That dessert party was so good too.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
And the best part of the day though for me was going inside Star Tours before the park opened.
Oh yes,
and
we did
look
do that.
at the simulator with the lights on.
Yeah.
Like that was
cool.
Total nerd time.
That's when I met you, and that's when I met my friend Courtney and her and
my friends.
our friends. Yeah,
our friends,
look
Courtney.
at it, bringing us together.
I was just thinking today too, in preparation for our chat today, just thinking about how I feel like we're both casual enough Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a die-hard Star Wars fan.
No.
I love it enough,
but
I have so many Star Wars memories with you specifically. It's so strange. Like Celebration, and now we're doing Mos Eisley on February 3rd. Get your tickets.
Should we just go to Celebration in Tokyo too? Like, should we just do it? 2025?
Let's go.
I feel like I'm on that.
I'm ready for Tokyo.
Thing. Yeah. Mos Eisley, this will be my first Mos Eisley that we're going to here in Orlando. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of Star Wars stuff.
It's weird.
We did the Star Wars After Hours party at Disneyland too. Because we have our Ewok picture on that you gave me for my birthday last year.
Photo.
Yeah.
I had to. I'm sorry. No, that, and we're also picking out some cheapy lightsabers to bring to Mos Eisley today.
Yes, we are.
We're going to unlock another Star Wars memory.
Yes, we will.
We're not here for
We're
Star Wars
not here
today,
to talk about Star Wars. I mean, we could end up talking about it. It's fine. But I feel like the thing that immediately would strike anybody about who meets you, I think, right away. First of all, you've got a wonderful sense of style and fashion.
Thank
and
you.
It's
cold today, but
it's
no,
but
my least favorite part.
You love nostalgia. You love like
the Vault collection.
Yes. I mean, you're wearing it. Yeah. And what's great is like you have a passion for these, these things. Sometimes of a time gone by. Sometimes they're still with us. Like you love the Muppets. You're a diehard Muppet person. But I'll never forget the first time I met you too. You had that Star Tours button. That was from way back when or whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be fun because there's been some changes at Walt Disney World, at Disney parks in general, across the board, that we could have a fun conversation. You agree with some, you don't agree with some. I thought we could do a conversation, the Disney hills that we would die on. Because I know recently there was something that happened, and you basically, anybody that got within your vicinity, you would talk about this to, and you wrote like a whole article about it and everything. And so I was like, you know what, we got to have this conversation in person.
Yeah.
So do you want to bring us through what it was?
Sure. I want to insert a little disclosure to any of my friends that might be watching this. I'm sorry you have to hear this again, but also I'm not, because these are hills I absolutely will die on.
Yeah.
Do the words Hatbox Ghost mean anything to you?
Do they mean anything to the average guest?
Does the Haunted Mansion mean anything to you? Of course it does. Everybody loves the Haunted Mansion, right?
Yeah.
Where do I begin? I'd
argue the Haunted Mansion, I've said it before, that I think is the culmination of like one of the best Disney attractions, because it does a lot of like really unique special effects, but the storytelling in it is also really cool. But then it's like got the Omni Mover part of it, and like there's so many elements of it where I was like, this is what, when I think of a Disney attraction like in its full entirety, it's like that. And I say the same thing about Rise of the Resistance in that same way, where it's culminating, like it uses screens, it uses projections, it uses all this type of technology with it. And Haunted Mansion, I think, is was like a prior generation of that. I mean, I know obviously you'd say, well, it's more than one generation, but in terms of being like, next generation attractions, I think that Haunted Mansion is one of those, it's like just a great exemplification of the things that Disney does.
It's one of the classics. Yeah. It's been around for, 50, I can't even do math right now, 54,
it's like
56,
50, yeah, I was like, it's not 55 yet, is it?
No, because it was 69 in Disneyland. So I've already had too many sips to do this.
Okay.
Now, so I'm not going to
this
try.
isn't a math podcast.
No,
so
it's
fine.
not. Thank goodness. No, so it's an original story too.
Yeah.
Obviously, Walt worked on it with his close associates, but and it stuck around. It's had updates through the years, including the Hatbox Ghost over in Disneyland, because he was once a long lost ghost, and
which is a crazy story if you don't know. I mean, I only know a little bit about it because I didn't know the whole thing with Hatbox Ghost was like. It was there for like a day or something, right? Or a day or two?
It was, I've heard differing stories. I've heard that it was a few days, like it was there during cast member previews in 60.
Yeah.
7. Am I even getting the year wrong now? Don't question me on the year. I'm sorry.
Is that the year that Walt Disney died? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not an expert. This is just a conversation about people that like Disney.
I can't Google right now, so I'm sorry.
Sorry, we're using our phones.
cannot confirm that.
But regardless.
But anyways, it was a few days, a few weeks, what have you. Very few people got to see the Hatbox Ghost. There was like 1 or 2 photos online that circulated up until recently. When he finally was installed. I think it was during 2015 he was installed at
I think Disneyland, so, because I think it was like that first year I had been to Disneyland, because I'm pretty sure I had been on the attraction before he was in there.
Right.
So it was like some point in that year.
Right. They couldn't get the illusion down originally. So when they finally, 2015, with all the modern technologies that we had, they could get the hat actually, or his head actually disappearing into the hat box. Hat box being that it's in the attic, and that's where you keep hat boxes. You catch where this is going. So finally, we had the surprise that Hatbox was coming to Walt Disney World.
Well, they announced it forever ago, yeah.
D23 2019? No, 2020.
Well, 2022, because it was the first one after we came back, yeah.
Okay, this is cool. Yeah, that's great.
Well, you're like,
probably
sure,
go in the attic. Great.
Yeah.
A cool new thing for our mansion. And then they announced at Destination D23 in, May of this year, or last year, 2023, that he was going to be an unhappy haunt, and he was going into the Endless Hallway, an already established scene that has great visuals, that does not need any more distractions. But the most important part is that it's before the seance, which breaks the storyline of the Haunted Mansion. And I don't care about the film.
Yeah.
I don't care about the film.
That's the part where I'm kind of like, I didn't actually. Okay, so the thing I compare it to is The Sixth Sense, where I was like, if you are somehow able to watch The Sixth Sense and know nothing about it, I'm talking no preview you've ever seen, then you will watch that movie the way it was intended to, where once Haley Joel Osment says, I see dead people, then from that point on in the film, you see ghosts.
Right.
But you do not see ghosts before he says, I see dead people. So you don't know what's wrong with him. And maybe you do know it's ghosts, but you don't see them until after he says it in that movie. And it's one of those, like, I didn't realize that afterwards, because when I watched it, and I watched it like right when it came out on VHS, old, and And he says, in the preview for it, the first thing in the preview is, I see dead people. And so like, right there, that's a big twist. There's twists in this movie, obviously.
Right.
Not the biggest twist of the movie, but that is supposed to be a twist that's given away right there in the main thing, I feel like I didn't think anything of it necessarily when I watched the movie, but now when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, that is the big giveaway.
Yeah.
It's the same with this. I didn't think anything of it when I saw the Hatbox Ghost where he was, but then you said that thing to me about it's pre-seance,
I'm so glad I could educate
and you don't actually physically see any ghosts. I mean, you see the guy like trying to come out of the coffin and the doorways, but you don't see a physical entity until after Madame Leota.
Yeah, it's
right?
unseen circumstances. The floating candlestick right down the hallway. Right, and it's a 50-plus-year-old attraction story. Why break it? We know some reasons why they didn't want to close down the mansion for an extended period of time. They didn't want to spend money on it.
Somebody told me that it was intended to be in a different place.
I did a lot of research.
Okay, and that when they went to put it into the, like, if it was, I don't know if it was the actual attic or if it was a different place, but they went to put it in and they couldn't, like the setup for it couldn't, and that's also why he was delayed as long as he was.
It's the structure.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, this Hatbox Ghost animatronic requires just as large as a boom as the Yeti does in Everest.
Oh, that's wild.
For, what that is.
Yeah.
So instead of closing down the mansion for an extended period of time to put him somewhere where it makes sense, they put him in the endless hallway. Because honestly, like even the cemetery would have made sense. Putting him in, if they redid the finale scene, the photo pass scene, that already feels kind of disjointed from the rest of the attraction. Like the ghosts are a little too new looking, and it doesn't really. I don't feel like it's that effective. I don't know what your thoughts are on that one, but
wait, what was the last thing you said?
The last scene where they take photos of you with the ghost in the Doom buggy.
Oh, they only do that in Walt Disney World too. They don't do it at Disneyland, so I always forget.
Well, Disneyland, it's still like isn't it still just the Pepper's ghost effect where he's like?
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, because I'm thinking of. Yeah, and I guess you're right, because even in the Haunted Mansion Holiday, it's still like the kids, the lock, shock, and barrel.
And it's just the Pepper's ghost.
But they like pop up. But yeah, you're right.
It's Pepper's ghost,
I think so.
Which matches the charm of the rest of the attraction.
Yeah.
like I don't need these obvious.
I didn't like the thing
screens.
where they pop in and they do the, because it never works.
They could have put Hatbox somehow, like I don't know. He's there at the hallway and like.
Here's my thing with him is that he feels like, to me, I thought at one point when so I have seen the new movie. Have you seen the new movie? Okay. And I understand the Hatbox Ghost is like a main character in the new movie. I don't like the new movie that much. It's fine. It's okay.
It's Muppets Haunted Mansion, Crimson Peak, Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, and this latest Haunted Mansion.
So I've actually never seen the Eddie Murphy one. I've only seen like scenes of it. So I have to like do a Haunted Mansion like watch through or something.
It's not.
I know. Well, and that's the thing. And this one is like, there's a lot of weird like elements where I was like, that's a whole nother conversation. But the thing with it is they frame the Hatbox Ghost as being like the main antagonist of that movie. And the thing in the ride is I was like, I started to think where I was like, is the Hatbox Ghost the narrator of the ride? No, right? He's not the ghost host, right? No. That's a separate person.
Paul Frees.
I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know these things.
No, do you remember the Halloween party when I questioned Madame, what was her name outside the mansion?
Oh, Carlotta.
I want to say LaBouche. Who's Madame LaBouche?
I have no idea. Her name was definitely Carlotta.
Madame Carlotta. And I said something like,
you said something about the Hatbox Ghost
mean to you?
Yeah.
I was a little too tipsy.
Yeah.
Again. And she was like, oh, we don't talk about him. Yeah. And I was like, don't tell me they already got to you too. And she's like, you're going to get me in trouble.
Chloe, you're my best friend, but you're going to get me in trouble.
It was so good. So good. But I couldn't believe that it had already hit Disney Entertainment, because I think it was like 2 weeks prior the movie came out. The movie came out in July.
The movie came out in July. It wasn't like on streaming or released. Yeah,
and I was like, already? You already have this canon that the Hatbox Ghost is
the other
your
part,
boss?
The part of that is like, even in Disneyland where he is installed, I don't feel like he's consequential to the attraction story whatsoever, because he's like not mentioned. There's no implication about him being special in any way.
He's just a specter in the attic, and that's how it's always been intended. And I know, I'm going to be honest.
I think the bride's more important than him.
I'm touching my mic, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I have not gone on the Haunted Mansion since they've installed Hatbox. I will this week, but I've seen photos and I've seen videos there's photos where like it shows.
I did it day one. I did it like right
Okay,
at Park
let me
Open.
ask you
So
then.
yeah, I did it like
The
6 times in a row.
The
to
lighting
film
where
it.
he is, because they installed the purple.
He looks
Haunted
better.
Mansion
He
wallpaper.
looks better here than he does at Disneyland. I think, like much clearer, and you can see him from a distance, so you have more time to like gather what you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah. So I do think
Does
in
it
terms of
distract from the endless
showcasing.
hallway?
No. Although I know people were upset because I even asked our media representative. You know, I was like. They're like, we're always worried about anytime we touch anything that's a legacy attraction, like this big thing like this. And they were like, because I said, oh, well, is the Donald Duck chair, you know, whatever that's called, the Donald Duck chair.
It's going in the Treasure Lounge, at least.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, on the Disney Treasure,
Disney
which
Treasure,
Chloe's
we get
talking
to
about.
visit
Yeah, the
the
ship
Donald-
opening
I'm sorry.
later of 2024. No, it's fine. I forget to do context too. But so they were saying like it's removed from it's gone out of the attraction. And I said, oh, you know, people are gonna have problems with that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but in terms of like where it is and what he's doing, like honestly, I feel like they picked the best possible spot they could put him in because it's kind of like that narration right there where it's like the chills running down your spine and like you see a ghost and you're like, okay. Like I don't think the average person is going to pick up on it, and I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm not saying it makes it okay.
There's just a very large Haunted Mansion fan base that I feel like care about the integrity of the story of the attraction, and that attraction deserves that integrity, you know? And
well, and I was going to say I've been curious. I remember when I moved here in like 2007, and so I would argue that's the first time in like adult life I rode the attraction, and like, you know, coming all the time when I was a kid, and then starting to really try to be like, what is the actual story here, and being like, is it just vignettes of a story, or is there an actual story, or are these like little tiny stories sewn together?
3-part story.
Yeah. And that's when I started learning about like the raven that's always around. That you're like, oh, this, you know, and the crawling out of the attic. That's why you turn around and go backwards. Because when I was a kid, I was terrified of that part. I always thought I was going to fall out of the thing backwards. And so, but like, you know, things like that I was like, I don't know. I'm not saying they're not there, but I don't know that they're abrasively clear.
No, it's not. And I don't know how to argue this point.
No, not everything has to beat you over the head storytelling.
No,
I would argue that's terrible too.
It doesn't have to, but I would argue that it really takes away from Leota's character, because that scene is...
Okay, I can see that.
It's such a big wow factor, going from the seance, seeing the floating object, she's calling in the spirits wherever they're at.
I mean, her head is in a bowl floating. Yeah.
Right. And then you have the big wow moment of the banquet scene. And that is the most spirits that you see doing different things.
And they're fading in and out. And they're fading because they begin to materialize. And I like, there are things in that where I didn't know until you told me. Yeah. Like where I was like, oh, it was one of those just moments, you know. And I love that. But it does also like you're like, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
It won't make sense, you know.
Yeah. You know what else doesn't make sense?
What?
We need a new bride. We need a new bride. We need a new bride.
A new ride, period?
A new bride.
Oh, bride.
Yes, in the
I
attic.
thought you were saying ride.
She's
I'm like,
not
where?
Scary.
What?
And we've had scarier editions in the past, and like, I feel like we need... I'm touching my mic again.
I think it's you're anxious.
I know. I swear I'm not. I'm fine.
I think our bride is better than the Disneyland bride. I think like she's a little more three-dimensional. The one over there looks a little like flat-faced, but
both are not anything to write home about. We need a scary one. Have you seen the photos of the skeleton with like the red glowing eyes? It's like she's literally like a skeleton face, like very.
Is that one in the international parks?
Like very Mrs. Bates looking.
Yeah.
Scary. Good. No, it was at World and Land, I want to say, a couple years ago. I don't know my history right now. It's okay.
Was it her pre-projection?
CGI.
Yeah.
I feel like we deserve a better one now that we have a new Hatbox.
Well, I also think, I feel like in terms of like pushing into a character, I'd rather they have leaned into that bride a little bit more, because I feel like she's got a bigger story, and that's kind of my problem with the new movie too, where I was like, your story's here. Yeah, and like,
put that in the,
she pops up, and I'm like, this lady lived in this house and murdered how many people that lived in this house? Why is she not the main character?
Right.
Like, I don't get it, but... Well, that's a Disney hill you die on for sure. And I can't wait to see what the comments are going to say about this one. But okay, so you asked me before we started what was one that I had, because I was like, I don't know. But I think one that comes up for me, and I know this one isn't as big a deal or isn't as like minutia as yours or anything like that, but for me, I think mine is like that Dinosaur is a valid attraction that deserves the praise and worth that it never gets.
Amen.
Like, because my thing is, when I was a kid and I came to Walt Disney World and I'd go to Universal Studios as well, you know, we'd either do Magic Kingdom and Universal Studios or Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Like, and I am afraid of heights. So it means I'm afraid of roller coasters. I'm afraid of all these things. You know, I was a very scared kid. You know, I'm still scared adult too, so I'm not gonna hide behind that too much. But you know, one of the first attractions like I ever did that was like a scary roller coaster attraction was the Back to the Future attraction at Universal Orlando, and that was like a motion simulator car that raises you up, and you're like in an IMAX. What?
You get eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah, you get. And I remember the part where the dinosaur like chomps down on it and shakes you.
Yeah.
And I remember when we got out, I told my mom, I was like, Mom, this was the coolest thing I've ever done, and it wasn't even like a roller coaster, it wasn't whatever, and we traveled through time. And so like when like I didn't go to Animal Kingdom until my grad night in like 2003, and I think the first time I ever rode Dinosaur was when I moved here like 2007, and I remember being like, that ride is terrifying. But what was cool about it was I was like, the way it shook you, the way you shake, like where there were no heights involved. But there's still like that part when you drop in the Jeep where they're like, whoa, and the pterodactyls are coming in.
The darkness.
Comes underneath this, yeah.
Audio.
And
like,
the whole thing, and like the fact that the Carnotaurus like runs at the car in that one part, but then when the car stalls and he comes down and and that's the photo op. And I always remember being like, that was my favorite place to bring people for a photo op because everybody always got spooked like at that one part.
Oh, some of the best on-ride photos are from that attraction.
And that's the thing where I'm like, what's great about a ride like that to me, and I think a lot of people don't put themselves in those shoes, is that like it's that kind of in between. Like if you're not a roller coaster person, if you're not, for motion sickness reasons or fear of heights or whatever, this ride is there's no other ride like it where it is a physical environment where you are like, it is exciting, it is thrilling, and it is scary. And that's why I was like, this ride is so cool for that reason alone, because it gives me that roller coaster thrill and that adrenaline rush, but it doesn't have that thing. And I feel like everyone just tosses it away with like, oh, dinosaur, oh, Indiana Jones. And like, I'm sorry, I didn't go to Disneyland until 2015. And yes, I am obsessed with Disneyland.
I'm
but it is a different experience. Even if they're like, it's the same ride track, whatever. I've been trying to put my mind in that and being like, okay, so then we do this here and that here. I don't feel it.
Right.
I don't feel it.
Right. Honestly, like they could put Indy here at Studios, and then sorry, they could put Indy here at Studios, and then have Dinosaur maintain Dinoland and Dinosaur at Animal Kingdom. That would be better than.
Yeah. Well, so my thing is too is like, here's the thing. I was thinking about this morning
because
too.
They're completely different. Is my point.
I am not going to die on a hill in sake of Dinoland USA at all. I think the rest of Dinoland USA is trash.
Sure.
I'm not.
Dinosaur.
I'm not into it. But I was like,
please.
you could at least retheme it and keep it what it is. Like leave it. It's off to the side. It's its own thing. And I get it. It's like the college students who went to the thing and they're doing their thing, and that's the whole.
It's a cute story, but it's a cute story made up for lots of budget cuts.
Yeah.
That happened back in the day.
And that's the thing where I'm like,
with No Primeval Whirl, have you been in Chester and Hester's very recently? There's no roller coaster and it's just fence. And
and I don't get that.
It does not feel like.
And listen, I won all those dino plushes, and I'm all about it. So I'm like, and they're some prized possessions of mine, but I'm like. I think there's a better use of space, but I would argue do not get rid of Dinosaur. Just let it be its own little nook. And you can retheme the rest of it that you want. There's plenty of room there without taking this guy out. And that's where I'm like, so that's the hill I'll die on. I will chain myself to the Sioux fossil, which by the way, I finally went to the Chicago Field Museum and saw the real Sioux. She's way bigger than that.
Oh,
she's like,
oh really?
She's thick. She's wide. She's big. So that is a mold. They said it was a mold of those things, but it is put together way smaller. Oh yeah. If Sue's Head at Animal Kingdom is like this, the real one's like this. It was massive. It was really cool. Honestly, the Field Museum was amazing too. Like I want to go back there because there were so many like dinosaur stuff, and I love dinosaurs, and it was like.
We'll do Chicago, Tokyo. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Geographically?
Sure. No. Well, Kim's in Milwaukee. We can go Chicago, Milwaukee, and we'll do a whole thing. Yeah. So, All right, we've got enough time for you to talk about one more hill that you would die on.
What do you think I'm going to talk about right
now?
now?
I think that the other hill that you would die on is at Disney's Hollywood Studios, or I should argue, was at Disney MGM Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is now where Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway currently occupies the space.
Great movie ride. Great movie ride. The Great Movie Ride.
Okay.
Opening day attraction. The entire reason this park exists in the first place. I don't care what Growing Pains, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Disney's Great Movie Adventure, Disney's MGM Studios for what I call it now. I don't care what kind of growing pains it goes through. The heart of the park was the Great Movie Ride, and the hill I'm going to die on is they could have kept it, because we're all about adding capacity, not replacing things, right? Right? That'd be nice if they did that once in a
Ideally,
while.
I mean, that's what Magic Kingdom keeps
There's
doing.
room at Hollywood Studios to put Runaway Railway somewhere else. And yeah, we didn't need to take away Great Movie Ride.
Okay, let me ask you this. Have you been to the Mickey and Minnie's at Disneyland? You went through the queue and everything, right?
Yes. This is what really nailed the coffin for me. Was I was accepting of it. I met Ryno a while back at the Star Wars event because we worked media events together. I write about theme parks and cover events as well with them, so they've been a great buddy. And Runaway Railway was my first big media event, so I was trying to go into it with...
That was mine too, I think, actually.
Yeah,
or no, I lied. I went to the Star Wars, the opening of Galaxy's Edge was the big one.
Right.
I'd gone, and I'm always like a thing, but that was the first big thing. But Runaway was a big one. They did that big one, and literally Runaway was also 2 weeks before they closed the parks for COVID.
Literally.
I remember the next day I was getting on the plane to go to Milwaukee, and then when I came back from Milwaukee that weekend, that week when I got back,
I know, we got
they
a
were
little taste
announcing
of
the
event, and we're like, oh, okay, nothing's ever going to be the same.
Yeah.
No, but that was a huge event, and I did Runaway Railway, with an open mind, thinking, I know we need family attraction here. I overheard Imagineers saying that they fought for the building, so to speak, that they needed those high ceiling show buildings from the Great Movie Ride. Yeah. Kevin Rafferty said that, and I remember that because, no, you're fine. Great Movie Ride was one of my favorite attractions growing up. It's the reason why I love films and dark rides and theme parks so much today. It was just such a different immersive experience. The cast member interaction was, amazing. There's nothing ever like that. Maybe Jaws or Jungle Cruise, but still not that same capacity.
Not on that same level.
No.
Yeah, Backlator, you could say
that was
too,
my dream role growing up. I memorized the script. I still have the script printed out to this day. I was obsessed with this attraction, probably to an unhealthy level. And I understand things change. However, I could argue that because of Disney's large content library now, even if they named it the Great Disney Plus Ride or something, and put everything that they own now, they could have tons of content without having to pay licenses for XYZ. So my point, when Disneyland finally opened theirs, and I saw that the show buildings, the scenes looked exactly the same, floor to ceiling, and they didn't have to they took over a gift shop and some backstage space, which is very precious in Disneyland. I'm surprised they even did that.
Insanely precious, yeah.
I was mad. I was very mad. I will never forgive them. I will never get over the Great Movie Ride being gone. I will never be over it. I can talk about this forever. Please shut me up. And
No. There's nothing wrong with this. I saw a post on Disney Flu blog today where one of I can't remember her name, and I feel terrible saying that, but she was holding up the phone and said, "Bring Great Movie Ride back," and it was in front of this, and I was like, God, Chloe would love this. So I was just out in Disneyland for the Disneyland Half Marathon, and while I was there, I chose to go with friends. We went into... We rode, Denny and her husband, and then my friend Nicole and I, we went on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway because they hadn't done it yet. And I was like, oh, well, the queue's a big deal. And the queue there is so good. It's so good. Because also it is and it fits perfectly where it is there. That's the thing.
It really
and that,
does.
to me, even though we had it here first, the fully realized version of what that is at Disneyland. And because it's in a land where it belongs, it's in a thing where it belongs. I'm not saying that it's not, and it's funny that you brought up the ceilings, because my thing whenever I ride it is I always think the ceilings are too high. Too big, where I was like, I feel like I'm in a warehouse and they didn't cap where it stops. And to the point,
you can see the catwalks from the Great Movie Ride everywhere.
Well, and it's weird because you're like, why is it so tall for no reason?
Right.
And it's not like my sight goes up. It's just up to a certain height, and that's that same height at Disneyland. So I don't know that I'd argue that, but I definitely, the ride has grown on me. I do enjoy the attraction, and I am not somebody who would fight for the Great Movie Ride. However, I would fight for the concept of the Great Movie Ride. Where you said, like, I agree with you. It never.
Where I'm at.
Once MGM became Hollywood Studios, which was like 2008, I think. Once that happened, and you're right, Disney never exploits their own movie library the way they should. And I would still love a dark ride attraction where we are going through the dioramas of the different movies that come to life and kind of try and get us. You know, like we had Indiana Jones was a part of it in Great Movie Ride, right? And, you know, and like stuff like that. Like, I do think Great Movie Ride, the movies they chose, you know, beyond like Mary Poppins and Wizard of Oz and Indiana Jones, were incredibly like misstated. I mean, but then you think like we got to go through Alien. Yeah, I was going to say Alien, which they now own. And that's the part.
Well, Alien could have easily become Star Wars, though, and I'd be okay with that. I would miss Alien.
I don't know that I would want a Star Wars, but I would have loved. I would love just something that goes through, even like Swiss Family Robinson. If you want to keep it old, let's go through a Disney library.
Interesting choice.
I like Swiss Family Robinson. I love Swiss Family. I haven't watched it in my adult life. Is that any more relevant
than? What would that be more relevant than? Tarzan, I guess. That would take over the jungle scene really well.
I'd argue like a lot of, if you're trying to keep it in a Disney IP.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying more relevant than Casablanca, which is one of the, you know, what arguably people say is the best movie ever made. I don't love Casablanca, but that's just my taste, and that's fine. Yeah. You know, but like, there, you know, like, get rid of the gangster scene and turn it into The Great Mouse Detective or something. I mean, I don't know if you can go through animation, you're going to keep it live action.
You have such a niche choice, I love it.
Yeah, my favorite Martian. You know, like, no, I'm sorry. I feel like, you know.
Any more?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think.
Dalmatians live action from 1996.
What was the Dick Van Dyke movie with the monkey and the? He had a monkey. It was on an island. It's like something Caruso as well, because he gets stranded in a submarine.
I've never seen.
And it's like Lieutenant Caruso. I watched it. I love Dick Van Dyke, so I watched like everything when I was a kid. But it is a Disney movie too.
We're discussing this later.
What's the tennis shoes? The Genius wore tennis shoes. That's Kurt Russell's like first Disney movie. Yeah, okay, I'll go deep for you too. I mean, I've never seen it, but
I can't remember the name of it. It's what they think about the button for
that darn cat. Where's that? You know, there's two of those. There was a remake with Christina Ricci.
It just deserves to be here. What the heck?
So I'm just saying, like, I love the concept. I don't know that our version. And I'm not saying our version deserved to be torn down and bulldozed. I'm just saying
59 animatronics, Ryno.
Well, and that's the thing. I would have, and I'm not saying I didn't get emotional in the end when they showed the, you know, Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved something that was ripped out and was redone in a modern fashion with modern animatronics and stuff like that.
And that cast member interaction, because honestly,
we don't really have a lot of that.
We don't have a lot of that anymore, and I would hope in today's day and age that cast members would be well compensated for their extra, you know, going into a more entertainment
role. Well, look
at
Galaxy's Edge, and I don't think that's true.
Maybe one day, I could hope. That was such a different experience. I remember going to the last day of the Great Movie Ride, and cast, managers, guests, they were all so emotional. I feel like there's not been an attraction like that had that big of an impact on people over the years. It was almost 30 years old by the time it closed. Again, like I said, the reason why this park even exists is because of the Great Movie Ride, because Michael Eisner said, hey, let's move this film.
When was the first time you came here? Well, how old were you?
At 0.
Because you grew up in Florida.
I was a baby.
Yeah. And so I'm just curious about that age connection too.
Indoctrinated onto the Great Movie Ride.
Yeah. Well, you know, and everything.
Well,
I
digress.
Yeah, no.
It's a hill I'll die on.
No, and I love it.
Talk to me about it.
Well, and I would love to hear what anybody who's listening or watching to this thinks the hills, the Disney hills that they would die on, because I think we should have a follow-up conversation with whatever people say. I think that would be fun.
That.
So leave comments on this video if you're watching on YouTube, or
if you don't agree with me, that's okay. I want to see your comments.
Yeah, leave me a post. You can go to disboards.com. I created a thread where it was like Ryno's thread or whatever, or however you can get the information to us. Let's do it, and I'll have Chloe back, and we'll do another. Because I'm sure that we're going to finish this and be like, we know another.
We're talking a lot. We're having a follow-up conversation. Maybe we should start a Patreon video about what we're about to talk about.
We can, but our drinks are running low, so we at least need to get up and get round 2. So that is going to do it for this Tap House Talks. Thank you, Chloe, for joining me.
Thank you.
This was fun. See, you were worried about the time, and it flew by. Flew by, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's okay. We both were banging the table. I'm holding the
know.
edge of it right now because I
Shaking
was.
your world right
I feel
now.
like we're like Dwight when he's giving the speech in the office and like slamming the table. The paper workers. Yeah.
Our
But
prices
no.
have never been lower.
But no, this was fun. Like I said, if you are listening to this and you want to rate and review podcasts, wherever you do that, please do that. And then if you are watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And when you're planning your next Disney vacation, don't forget about Dreams Unlimited Travel. So thank you everybody out there for the continued support. Thank you to our patrons, patreon.com/DizUnlimited. Head over there. Maybe Chloe and I will do a video right now. I think maybe we should.
Yeah, we should.
So check that out over there. And that's going to do it for us. We're all, see, that's the thing. I get real high energy by the end of it. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Goodbye.
So, yeah.
Goodbye.
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 That's it. We just say goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Cheers.